My name is Seamus O'Sullivan. I am 33 years of age. I live in Bedford Stall with my mother and father. I attend in the Island Adult Services 3 days a week. I'm making this video to let people know what it is like to have renal failure. You usually have 2 kidneys, but only one of mine is working. I attend Kerry University Hospital 3 days a week for dialysis treatment, and each session takes roughly 3 hours. A fistula is a permanent connection into the artery between the... sorry, I should write that again. A fistula is a connection between an artery and the vein, and every dialysis session there's 2 needles put into my skin, one to take the blood out of my skin and the other one to bring it back in. And in between it has to be put in the dialysis machine to be filtered, to be cleaned. And that's called a fistula. And other people have a line which is more complicated because it just doesn't, if it gets wet it can get infected. Sometimes your blood pressure can go low on dialysis, and if it goes low at the start of dialysis or in the middle, you're given something called saline, which helps to bring up the blood pressure, and they tell you like to tilt the bed. So for instance, you have to have a rise and fall kind of bed, in a bed that tilts. You couldn't do dialysis in an ordinary chair. It has to be on the one that then rises and falls and tilts. And there is something else. High blood pressure is another problem that can arise, and you can there's blood pressure tablets you can get to control that, because if your blood pressure is either too high or too low, it can be dangerous. And you have to wear a loose jumper each dialysis session, especially if you have a fistula, because if you have a tight jumper, your jumper would be pressing on the needles, so it could burst the needles if it was too tight. And you're given a time slot, so like if you're there for, we'll say, 3 o'clock, you're expected to be there for 3 o'clock, like, not, and if you turn up, we'll say, at 1 o'clock and you're not to be there till 2, you might have to wait a long time. Holidays. Some people do go on holidays, but if you're going on holidays, you would have to let the dialysis staff know, and they would have to, like if you were going to Dublin, they would have to check out a place in Dublin that has a dialysis unit near where you're going. And it's very important as well, when you're finished dialysis, that you have a thing called, well, it's called gauze, but it's kind of just tape and like plasters that you put a dressing that you put on when you're finished dialysis, so that the sites won't bleed, because if you didn't put any dressing on, you could bang your hand off something and they could bleed, or you could get an infection very easy. And they say that you should have clean toast after you go on, or when you come off, to help your blood pressure, so that bring up, like, let's say, to help your blood pressure that won't go too low when you go on it. No, some people are on the transplant list, but more people wouldn't be able for it because of age and their size and all that kind of thing. Not everyone is able to have a transplant because you have to have a suitable donor. Like, it's not everyone that can give everyone a transplant. Some people, unfortunately, are on dialysis for life, but that's just the way it is. There's nothing that they can do about it. That's just the way it is. And some people, like, do home dialysis. They can take the dialysis machine home, like, but that would have to be set up by a dialysis nurse, and they would have to have a sterile room at the home, so that you wouldn't have any, especially not animals in that room or any dust or anything, because you'd have to know what you're doing, like with the needles, and how to operate the dialysis machine properly. Because if you did something wrong, you could have to wait for a technician to come from Dublin. That could take a couple of days, and you have to. I think when you're on dialysis at home, you have to go on it for every day for an hour. Whereas at the hospital it's for 3 days a week. But if you were doing it at home, it would be every day for an hour. Binders or tablets that you take with your meals, you take one after each meal, or you take 2 after each meal. It depends what you're instructed to do by your consultant when you see him. Every bed and every chair over the dialysis unit has to be washed after each person, and the tables that they're using, like the bedside table and the headphones, because each dialysis patient has their own headphones, and they have to be all washed after each session to stop infection. Every dialysis patient has to be weighed, and that's called your dry weight. And there are 2 types of scales: one that you sit on, and another one that you can drive onto with the wheelchair. And your dry weight is what you're aiming to come off at the end of dialysis. And the fluid, it's very important as well that you watch your fluid between each dialysis session, that you don't have too much fluid intake, because otherwise it would be hard to get it off you, or you could lose your blood pressure could go down, or something. You could feel unwell. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you.